nodes have which browsers by when you set up the node, it'll register to the hub with your all your desired capabilities. So that's basically how the grid works in a short amount of time. So I bet you're thinking, why do we need something else besides a normal Selenium grid? You set it up once and leave it. Well, as your nodes are staying up for an extended period of time, the memory usage will probably get higher. You could be left with a lot of browser windows left open due to many different reasons. And when this happens, you'll start to see a lot of your tests fail for some unknown reasons. And these could be considered flaky tests. So now onto the selenium-grid-extras. When you first, it's a Java program, so it's just a jar file. And when you first run it, you'll be asked to answer a few different questions. Some of these questions are, as you can see here, is this computer going to be a hub or a node, or is it both? The port that you want it to run on for the grid extras, the hub, if it's a node, like what's the node port, the platform. Do you want to record videos because it can do that as well? Do you want it to be an Appium node? How long do you want to keep the log files for? And a lot of different stuff that we'll get into later. So basically, after it starts, you'll have this servlet running on your machine, and by default the port is 3000. So you just go to the IP of the hub or the node or whatever kind of machine it is, and port 3000, and you'll see all these different endpoints you can hit. So what's really nice about this is you'll see the accepted parameters, the description of the endpoint, and also the response, what you will get back. So I'm going to give a live demo now, just setting it up for 1 second. So you can see, I don't know if you see my screen, but right here is the jar file. So I'm just going to run that jar file for the first time. And it's going to say, okay, what kind of computer is this? I'm going to say I'm a hub and a node for this example. So if I did just choose a node, you'd have to give it the hub IP address. I'll choose a lot of defaults. So it's going to ask me, do I want Firefox? It's also going to guess your version of the browser you have installed, and I'll put that in your node configuration file. So it knows I have Firefox 50. And Chrome 54. So I do not want to auto log in after restart. But I would like to auto update my driver versions. Actually, I'm going to take that, and I'm not going to auto update for a few reasons. So I'm going to say I don't want the latest, I want to get an old version of Selenium 2.53. I'll help with our demo. How do I increase it in terminal? Preferences maybe? Control plus one instead? Oh, nice. Does that work? People can see it better? Cool. Awesome. Thanks. So I'm going to go with an old version of Chrome driver, 2.23 instead of 2.25. No Appium, and we are going to record tests. We'll keep 40 videos, that's a lot. So there you go. So after it runs, you can see it tells you all the different endpoints. I just went over a few to begin with. We started our hub, we started our nodes, and it says navigate to this URL to see more details. I think that's part of it, not part of this So here it is. So this is the URL it created for us. So you can see you have a screenshot of your desktop. So when you're running this on a VM, you can actually have a sneak peek into the VM to see what's going on. And it's not a video per se, but so you can refresh the page to get a new image. We have some other information like over here. So that is a demo of how to set it up, and I'll just continue with the presentation. Okay, so the selenium-grid project is also a lot of this the stability and maintainability issues with the normal selenium grid. It also provides new functionality which can be helpful in debugging your tests, like the video option I showed you. So auto update may seem like a bad idea sometimes, but it does have some benefits. And auto update here is for the driver, not the browser itself. So I'm not going to update, like grid-extras is not going to touch your browser, but it'll update the driver object, like Gecko, Chrome, IE driver, and as well as grid-extras itself. So if your browsers are not set up to disable automatic updates, like Chrome is hard to disable, updating the driver could save your test from failing. The grid-extras jar file can also be set up to auto-update, which is a cool feature in my opinion. You'll get the latest features without having to do anything besides restart your grid-extras service. So how many people were affected by Chrome updating and your test started to fail? There are compatibility issues with Chrome 54 and Chrome driver versions that are less than 2.24. So we had that issue actually last week with one of our projects. However, the project that we do use selenium-grid-extras for was unaffected by this change because the VM restarts continuously every day, and we get the latest version every single time. So this is just one example of why auto-updating the versions of your drivers could be useful. So I'm going to give another demo of updating from 2.23 to 2.25. So I'll show you exactly, it'll fail the test when I run it. So you can see on this web page that we had it for, you can see Firefox is did it with this Gecko driver, and Chrome is with 2.23. So I'm going to run a test against it right now. Live demo. This is just a simple test. It will fail, at least I hope it does. It should fail because 2.23 is incompatible with Chrome 54, as I mentioned.
How many of you have actually run into these issues where, all of a sudden your tests start to fail and you later on found out that it was a version update of the browser that actually caused the problem? So a lot of people run into that problem, right? Especially the timeout issues, right? Where we say, hey, we're waiting for something, and then all of a sudden we start to see a lot of timeout issues. So this specifically helps with that it's automatically able to update the corresponding driver associated with that browser to help you with not needing to figure out the test failures and why they are happening. And imagine if you have like a lot of nodes needing to update the driver version, whether it is Gecko driver or Chrome driver on 15 different machines, is a tedious task. I think Shawn is going to talk about more of that.
The demo's not working out so well. It worked like 10 minutes ago, or like right before.
You might have an orphan Chrome driver somewhere.
Alright, so either way, we'll table that for now. I can still update the Chrome driver though. So if I go into, I can stop my grid-extras, and then, so when we did our first time run config, it put all of your answers into the the grid extras config file. So I'm gonna just use nano to go into that. So you can see I put Chrome driver 2.23. I'm gonna change this to 2.25. And if I run the jar file again, it will not ask me for all those first time configs because it already has it all. So now if I go into the URL again, we should see 2.25. So it did update. Now maybe my test will run. Or maybe not. Probably. All right. That didn't work out so well. So I'm going to skip that demo. Maybe it'll work later. Cool. So skip that. Okay, so your nodes can accrue some leftover browsers. So you might see a lot of these, like IE might have like crashed a million different times, and you'll see if you go into the VM, you might see this like scattered out on the VM, just saying like IE crashed. If you like, you can also accidentally forget to close the driver at the end of your test run. The connection between the driver and the browser could crash, and then you can't interact with the browser, so it stays open. Or if you just kill a test in the middle of it, then it never got to your after each, so then the browsers stayed open. Also, in general, the memory usage could go up if there are any memory leaks in your services running on the machine. So like, you have Java, you have the Selenium service, you have the grid-extras service, and the node service, and any other services, they can each have a leak. So restarting the nodes after X amount of test runs gives you a clean slate. And then also with the restarting of your node, we also give the option to auto log in as a specific user. So you would see that when you do the first time run config. Another feature of the selenium-grid-extras is the central location for your node config files. If you ever had to change a node config file for all of your nodes, you know how painful it is to log into each machine and update the config file. Storing all the configs in a central location on the hub, in our case, means you only have to log into one machine and can quickly update all of your node config files to save several hours of time. It is also easy to compare node config files to make sure that the settings you want to be the same, like timeouts, you want those to be the same across all your nodes, that they are actually the same. One feature improvement that we're thinking about adding to this project is having one config file for multiple nodes. So think if you have like 5 nodes and you want them all to have the same configuration, like one Chrome browser each, then you can have the one config file for all 5 nodes, and you wouldn't have to have multiple different config files. So the video of the test runs is perhaps the single best feature of selenium-grid-extras. It is an OS level video, which means it'll capture any OS level modal dialogues that appear. One caveat to this is that if you have multiple browsers open at the same time, it's only going to capture the topmost browser. And this is also another reason why you might want nodes to be smaller and only handle one concurrent test at a time. So this will greatly help with debugging and bug reporting. Imagine you want to create a bug for a failing test. You can easily upload the video, and the developer can quickly see the issue and fix it. This is another huge time saver. So this is another live demo of course. And it didn't work before, so we'll see. Yeah, I'll try that. It's a good idea. I forgot to mention it before, but so when you start selenium-grid-extras, you still have the original Selenium Grid hub, so that's still there on 4.4.4.4, or whichever port you set it up as. I'm thinking it's because I'm on the VPN. I'm on the VPN. I'm going to try getting off the VPN and going onto a different Wi-Fi network. But here's what led me to that. Perfect. I think it'll work now. So I'm giving a demo of live video. So I'm going to run a test. Same as before.
Questions so far? There will be a quiz after the presentation.
Yeah.
So, what is your best advice adding the delay time for VPN?
I didn't understand the question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, for VPN, if you happen to deal with VPN and your network testing, so VPN is kind of unpredictable. You don't know how much time that you delay time that you should put in for your batch run smooth. But your experience, how much time delay time that I should put in?
Well, like, are you talking about with starting the grid? Or after you start the grid, you're running your tests? Because if you're running your test, you want to use the explicit weights to make sure like everything is there. But in my issue is, I'm not actually unsure what my issue was, but being on the VPN, the node could not connect to the hub, even though it's the same machine. So it was something weird. So let's try to run my test once I find the right command. Of course, I lost it. Second. All right, cool, perfect. Here we go. Run a test. It'll work. There you go. You can see it started up. It's a very short test. It's like I think 8 seconds. This is the project I'm on. It's just the website builder. It goes in, verifies that the phone number is correct in both spots, in 2 different spots. So I ran the test. You can see it passed. It tells you. So if I refresh the URL, now we have this one available video. So I was just talking about live videos. Here's the live video right here. So I can click on it and it'll play for me, or you can download it. So in the bottom left, you see some information about like the node, the timestamp, and the commands being executed. It'll make more sense with a local running test, but you see them all down there. It's actually hard to see. So that is live videos, which can be very helpful. So you can see it is OS level. You can see everything behind it, everything not the browser. Cool. So just like OS level videos are taken, and which are automatic, by the way, you don't have to do anything. If you're using selenium-grid-extras, it'll automatically take the video. You can take OS level screenshots by hitting an endpoint on the node. So these screenshots are currently being saved on the node machine as well. So to use this inside of your code, like that you're running your test run, you would just use like some HTTP library to call the endpoint. And you could take, let's say you want an OS level screenshot on test failure. So Selenium could take screenshots, but they're not OS level. So it's within the browser. So if you have a modal dialog that appeared and then that's why your test failed, on the Selenium screenshot would not show that. It just wouldn't be there. But the OS level screenshot would be there. So this is just an example I had. I took an OS level screenshot and that's what appeared. So sometimes the mouse can interfere with the tests. For example, or for this reason, the mouse is automatically moved out of the way to the top left of the screen every time your test runs. So it'll be out of the browser viewport. Just make sure there isn't a hot pointer set up in the same spot. I was tricked by that the other day where it goes to the top left, and that's where my like sleep or whatever it is, or like lock the computers at the top left. So I kept locking my computer. This is extremely useful in scenarios where you need to mouse over an area to show something, like a drop down. So if in your test you need to mouse over something, this is definitely useful. If the mouse is in the viewport, it could interfere with that. Kill all processes by name. So the ability to kill all processes on a remote machine is also very helpful. You may not have auto restart of the nodes, and you still want to clean up on the machine like every so often. So and I'm going to give a demo of that right next. So let's say we have a VM with all these Chrome windows on it. Here's that VM right there. So you can see I have, same as before, there's no videos yet, but all these Chrome windows are there. I'm going to go to the API endpoint. I'm going to say kill, and then you can see there is kill commands for IE, Firefox, Chrome, Safari, or a PID, like the ID, or kill all by name. I'm going to just use the shortcut kill Chrome. So this should kill all those Chrome instances on that machine. I ran it, has been terminated. Some of them cannot be terminated for some reason, but it did tell you that, so it's good to know. If I go back into that machine, you can see all the Chrome instances are gone. So I'm guessing the ones it could not kill weren't there anymore. Either way, they're all gone. What's nice about it, it does an OS level kill operation instead of like in Selenium you do a driver.quit. This is it's safer. It more kills it better. That makes sense. Yes.
Just to make sure, so it said some processes,
Yes. Yeah, and I'm not sure why. I didn't read the exact message why it wasn't killed. It didn't say some were not killed. My guess is that they weren't there anymore for some reason. So auto update the browser versions in your node config file. When a node starts up, it can check the browser versions of Firefox, Chrome, and IE to see if they change. If they did change, it will update the node config file with the correct version. This can come in handy when Firefox or Chrome auto update, mainly Chrome in my experience, or even if you update the browser by yourself. And you want a quick idea of what versions of and browsers are currently on the machine, you can just go to the grid-extras URL or normal hub URL. So for example, get out of here. So if your hub URL, a lot of people pass in the browser, but they might not pass in the browser version. But you can, and it'll appear on the hub URL. So what's nice about this is I know that Chrome 54 is on this machine. When Chrome 55 comes out and auto update kicks in, it'll show me exactly it's Chrome 55 on there. So it's a quick way to see what versions are actually on the machine. Like just because I installed Chrome 55 or Firefox 50 doesn't mean it's going to stay there. To run your test against IE, the IE protected mode must be the same value for all zones. There's 4 zones and it has to be the same. It doesn't matter if they're all set or unset, they just have to be the same. selenium-grid-extras can automatically do this for you each time the grid service starts up. So if it gets changed by maybe by your admins or someone, or you change it accidentally, it'll automatically set them all the same, so your IE test won't fail. Another setting in Internet Explorer is the mixed content. If this is set to disabled and an iframe in your web page is HTTP, but the web page itself is HTTPS, the iframe won't be displayed. selenium-grid-extras can also set the mixed content value. So in summary, here's just what we went over, and all the others are at the API endpoint. So each machine has a URL with the useful information. I showed it a few times already. So in the top part of the URL, you'll see the IP, you'll see the host name, you'll see the version of grid-extras, so you know what version you're at, and you'll see the screenshot of inside of the machine. And then below that, you'll see your config file with browsers and how many instances you can run at the same time, the version. You'll have all the CPU information of your machine as well, so you can see if it's getting to like a high CPU or low RAM, low JVM, or disk space. Disk space, sorry, I keep clicking. Disk space is really important, at least for grid-extras, because the videos could take up a lot of space. And then you also have the videos. So there's a lot of different products out there that you can use besides grid-extras. There's Sauce Labs, there's BrowserStack, there's Gridlastic, sure, a million others. There's the normal Selenium Grid. There's the Docker Selenium project, and then there's us. So Sauce Labs is great. It has all the features that the grid-extras project has, and more. The normal Selenium Grid is good, but it requires a lot of maintenance, and your nodes won't be as stable, or your tests. Docker Selenium is an amazing project. I use it a lot. It lets you easily set up a Chrome and or Firefox Selenium Grid. It is easy enough to set up your test, to start a new node each test as well, and kill it afterwards. This would solve a lot of the stability issues. However, one thing that Docker Selenium does not have is a video of your test run. It also does not have Internet Explorer, Edge, or Appium for iOS. There are no Windows containers from before Windows Server 2016. Selenium-grid-extras can be run on any platform and control any kind of Selenium grid nodes, whether it's IE11, Chrome on OS X, or an OS X machine running Appium for your iOS tests. You still need to install Java though, and the browsers itself, and download the grid-extras jar file to your machine. You also need to update the browsers if they are not set to auto-update. It all comes down to a cost, feature, and maintenance trade-off. Salt slabs may have a lot of great features, but then you're paying for them with money. Grid-extras may come with a few less features, but then you have to take the time to learn it and set up your machines. And Selenium Docker is great, but again, it's only mostly Firefox or Chrome. Or Chrome? Yep. So some future improvements for the grid-extras project. Currently, we are not auto-downloading the Edge driver. You have to download that one yourself. So auto-downloading it would be a feature, and auto-upgrading it. One of the issues around that is that you need a different version of the driver for different versions of Windows, I believe. And they're not easily accessible like the other drivers. They're not on GitHub. It's not on Google APIs, whatever, like Chrome driver. Another feature is to add a flag. Add a flag for better control over how to upgrade. So what I was thinking is similar to the tilde and the caret in the JavaScript package.json world. So let's say you don't want to go to Selenium 3 just yet. You can keep at the highest Selenium 2 version. Better video names. So if you didn't realize, if you didn't see, the video names are just a UUID and a timestamp. It's really hard to know which video is for which task. So what I was thinking was an endpoint where the user would get to name the video, and you would just call that endpoint in your code. Allow screenshots to be downloadable via the grid-extras webpage. Currently, you can only download the videos, none of the screenshots. Per browser videos, instead of the OS level videos. So there has been some work done here to take a screenshot every few seconds of the browser. Then you can have multiple videos on the same machine. But one of the issues could be performance, obviously. Taking screenshots every few seconds for 5 different browsers. It could, I'm just not sure. We're also thinking of adding a Docker container for grid-extras. So this would solve the issue about having to download the browsers or install the browsers and to get the grid-extras file on there. You would just get the container of grid-extras and you easily get all the features of it. And then lastly, documentation. It's hard to get started sometimes. So documentation is definitely an improvement, I believe.
Shawn, question.
Yes.
How many, do you know any other companies using the grid-extras?
Companies itself, no. I do get issue requests every week though, so there are people that do use it. I just don't know their companies. Definitely Groupon, but besides that, I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
Does it work in the Jenkins environment? Is a plugin supported?
That is a very good question. The owner, or not the owner, the creator, Dima Kovalenko, has done a lot of work around that. It's not complete yet, but it is in the works.
And it's all open source, right?
Correct, yes, it is open source, and I'll show it after.
do we do this configuration for Android and iOS? It's just in the selenium-grid-extras when you configure?
Yeah, in the first time run config, there is an option, like if this is going to be an Appian node, you would just answer 1. So 1 is yes, 0 is no. And full disclosure, I don't, I've never run it as an Appian node, so I can't talk too much about it, but I know that the option is there and it has been tested.
So once I run my test and the videos are taken, how do I retrieve those? Are the videos stored on the node or on the?
So they are stored on a node, and they believe they're supposed to be transferred over to the hub as well. So the hub is going to have the same interface as each of the nodes, and then you can download the video from there.
And what format is the videos?
The video is, I'll just check right now to be sure. They're actually pretty small, I believe. So I was going to make sure they're formatted.
Are they like .avi?
I can answer that better. Actually, I think I downloaded one before. I'll just download one right now. That's probably the simplest. Oh, they are MP4.
So what's the typical size of your recordings when you run your tests?
Let me just check.
Because we have tests that run 8 hours long.
Oh, wow.
So
You may have an issue there. And also with the videos, the height has to be divisible. I think it's height. It's divisible by 2, or our videos don't work.
the height of one.
Of the screen resolution. Let's see.
I think a lot of it would depend on the size of the VM where you're running the test, right? So
Whether you can
these
store
are
as many.
compressed. If you have a very small VM, then obviously 8-hour-long videos, you probably run out of space very quickly. But if you run on a real maybe, computer, then you have far more storage. I'm sure they're compressed, but they may not be particularly compressed.
So my 10-second video was about 186 kilobyte.
Yeah.
It's
Pretty
much
small.
that, yeah. So they're not too bad. And that is kind of why we have the limit of how many videos you want to store.
And there's an API to fetch those videos back?
Till I download them?
Yeah.
You just get them. There's no API for it. No. Feature improvement. But you can download them from the URL, like from the webpage.
So when you run your test and the test fails, you're storing the ID of the video?
Yeah. Oh, we don't actually handle the playing of the video. We just so that's all done by Chrome or whatever browser you're using. In my case, Firefox is just playing the video inside of the browser. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. No, correct.
So the
Is there a-
entire test is recorded, essentially.
Video recording is a setting as part of the setup process, right? You can disable it. if
Correct.
you
Yes.
want to.
Yep. If you don't want videos, you can also disable videos.
So I have a question, like, can you enable and disable videos while just before the test starts? Like, for example, I know that few tests are more likely to fail and some normally pass. So I basically don't want to record too many videos. I have found it in
Okay.
test cases.
There currently no, there is not. What we have talked about before is having a delete video endpoint where you can delete the video on success or something.
Yeah, okay. That was my next question. Thanks.
The other hack you can do is you can point it to a specific node with the specific desired capabilities, and on that node you can have the config to not record the videos.
Correct, yeah, that is a good one too. Cool. There's only like a couple more slides left. So those are the future improvements. There we go, cool. So contributing, we're always looking for contributors for the project. There's not that many of us. So if you use the project or plan to use the project and want to help out, you can meet up with me afterwards or talk to us on IRC or Jitter, however you pronounce it. It's Gitter's GitHub's chat, or open a GitHub issue. You can help out by adding new features, fixing bugs, adding tests, which we need more tests in our test framework, or writing documentation. And then, any questions? I guess we're any more questions?
How do you if you don't have high potentials?
So we set them up, right now we set it up manually, the grid extras. So our nodes right now, in the project we're using it is one hub and 8 nodes. So I just went in and downloaded the jar file and ran it one time. I do have a chef recipe, I think they're called. I am not great with chef. I started learning it by creating a recipe for grid extras. So that is also out there.
Do you have like
Oh yes, so the project is run on, they run on commit, I believe, actually. Yeah, so on commit.
I think it's just a configuration that you pass as a desired capability, and you pass in the IP of the hub, and then the hub is able to. So it's kind of taking out the maintainability of the CI system and having the test infrastructure be its own maintenance cost, I guess. If you use the plugin and the plugin has some issues, then I mean there are trade-offs, right? So you could use the plugin, or you can set up the infrastructure on your own and then pass on the burden or the code to handle the actual call to the hub onto the framework or onto the test caller. The benefit of actually having that in the code is that you can have multiple hubs or multiple sources, and then based on how your tests are structured, you can run against different hubs, right? So if you want to have like a hybrid solution of saying, hey, I'm going to run some tests on Sauce Lab, some tests on one hub, another test on another hub, you control that from your config of your test framework instead of depending on Jenkins to do that.
So yeah, here's the project. It's hosted under Groupon's organization, and the person who asked about the Jenkins plugin, all this stuff has been right here. Has been updated in a year, but the other guys have been working on it. It's all in Java. We use Maven for our dependency management. And the Gitter, if anyone is familiar with Gitter, or how we pronounce it, we have a Gitter room as well. You can just search for us if you have any questions. So that's a good way to ask questions or open a GitHub issue, either one. Cool. That's what I had for the presentation. Anything else?
Again, guys, this is just for informational purposes. It's at your discretion what option you want to use. Sauce Labs, Grid, Extras, Docker, whatever. And I think Shawn was kind enough to give some more insights about this project. I had looked at it, but I never got to use it. But definitely adds a lot of value. And then again, within your company, whatever the factors are for deciding how and when, where you want to run your tests, there are all the options that are available. So if you have the resources to maintain and run your infrastructure on your own, you can always do that. Otherwise, you can use Sauce Labs or other cloud providers for running tests. With that, you have final announcements or things. Okay. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate your time. Hope you liked the presentation, and have a good night.
Thank you.